Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. Today, we're continuing with our 2022 spring game recaps, looking at the Washington Huskies. Before we get into it, just wanted to thank you guys for all the support on the channel. I feel like it was just yesterday I was thanking you guys for 500 subscribers. Now we're knocking on the door to 900 subscribers. So if you guys do like the content, you like talking college football, go subscribe to the channel. We're talking college football all summer and into the 2022 college football season. Dill, you were the one watching this Washington Huskies spring game. What do we see?
I think the concern for Washington is they need to get way better on offense, and I think they know that. Like, they were terrible running, they were terrible passing. Just last year, they couldn't move the ball an inch on anyone. And they are bringing in a coach who is, he's a really good offensive coach. Like, you saw that.
Yes.
Fresno State team put up some major points on some really good programs, and they do it through the air. That's what he's going to want to do. So these quarterbacks, to me, it seems like the competition is going to come down to Heward and Michael Penix. Michael Penix, the connection with Kalen DeBoer from Indiana, where they put up points together. So I think this is I didn't think Penix looked very good today, which was concerning because I think that's probably who they want to go this year, right? The guy with the experience, been in college football and succeeded in college football, whereas Heward's much more of a potential guy. You didn't see a ton from him last year.
Well, he was a bona fide, legit 5-star recruit, stud. So there is some upside there.
And to be honest, he looked way better today. I think the ball gets out more on time, more consistently. He has a much stronger arm, because that's probably kind of a big weakness in Penix's game is he doesn't really have the cannon.
No.
So that's, to me, I don't know. You got a really good stable of wideouts, and obviously DeBoer is going to want to use them and not be a run-first team, which is kind of what Penix. His legs are a big weapon. That's what he kind of relies on, and I just think Heward looked a little more comfortable as the passer. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Penix can play, so it's. No doubt about that.
I feel like this quarterback competition, from what you're saying and from what I've been reading about this team, will come down to fall camp. It's going to be who DeBoer likes better. One thing I'm really high on DeBoer is that when you bring in an offensive-minded head coach, it's a little bit more valuable than a defensive-minded head coach. When you look at stats, the best defenses have the best recruits, just the better athletes, and so you can be a mediocre defensive coordinator. If you have a good, talented defense, you'll have a good defense. Now, offense, it's a little less correlated to how you recruit, and it's more about scheme. DeBoer, obviously one of the brighter offensive minds in the country, and I think that's why Washington went and got him. And there's a couple of guys on this team that I'm kind of excited to see how DeBoer is going to use. Giles Jackson, the transfer from Michigan, a guy we know plenty well. We're not the biggest fans of Giles Jackson, but he is a guy who's electric with the ball in his hands. Did you see any?
I'm not. It's going to be tough for Giles Jackson to get on the field because there are some. That's a good wide receiver room. I think the Jalen Polk made a really nice play. Rome Odunze made some nice plays. I don't think you saw a ton of Jalen McMillan today, but a guy you kind of have a sense is going to be one of the premier performers.
Yep.
And then the dark horse guy was Lanyata Alexander, and I think he played high school football with Sam Heward, so they know each other, and he made some really excellent plays. So I think for Giles Jackson, who dropped a couple passes, which was a problem at Michigan and kept him off the field a little bit, and if it's a problem now, he's good with the ball in his hand, but it was generally from a special team standpoint, not as much. He's never a wildly productive receiver this year or last year or at Michigan. He doesn't
run the cleanest routes. So he's just a guy that if you get him the ball in space, he can be electric, but he's not a very polished route runner. Has struggled with drops. A guy that I kind of am interested to how they use, because if you look back at 2021, and we watched them play Michigan. We watched them a couple of times at Pac-12 After Dark, shout out Pac-12, Saturday Night Football. The offense had just no explosive plays. Their two leading carriers average less than 4 yards a carry. And there's no shade on Sean McGrew, but there's just no explosive plays from this team. And so you got to look for just somewhere where you can find the explosiveness. Maybe Giles Jackson, maybe it's some of the receivers you talked about. And one of the things that really concerned me is Dylan Morris was painfully average. Kind of like Anthony Brown was at Oregon, where it's like this offense just can't get going under him. And
well,
like
and they compounded that by they really started to work Heward in, and so neither of them really had a great chance by that point. And Dylan Morris, I just don't know if he's the guy, because he got a shot and they were really, really struggling on offense. So it feels like it's going to come down to the two of them. And the thing is you do have some weapons on the outside. Like they look like they're like more thinner athletic wideouts. So with the way DeBoer opens the field up and kind of uses that very air raid style. And
yeah, you just need a quarterback who can get those playmakers the ball.
And that's going to be the question is if Heward can emerge, like this team could probably be really good. Because flipping over the defense, they've played good defense.
They have always.
They just play good defense. And getting Zion to
he's a dog.
God help me pronounce that name, but
he's a dog.
He's excellent. And I think if he was healthy last year and could play, was going to be a fairly high draft pick, in my opinion, probably within the first 3 rounds is what I kind of thought. So him getting back is huge. And what they always have is just athletic tackling linebacker safety combos. So like, it seems like they play a very unstructured but difficult defense to deal with. And I think they have that recipe again. I think, that's always proven tough for everyone.
They've always played good defense. It is in a sense DBU, at least in the Pac-12. They just pump out really, really good DBs. We saw 2 go in Trent McDuffie and Kyler Gordon in the draft last night. One thing I'm a little bit concerned about is they are losing their leading tackler in Jackson Sermon, who was kind of all over the field with 20 more tackles than the next guy up. He's going to University of California, so where's the production going to come in at linebacker? But again, I think the concern about the Washington Huskies is much less on the defensive side of the ball. They will not be good if they run the same offense and have the same level of offense success as they did last year. And so you got to find some explosive plays. You got to find ways to put points on the board. And that's going to be a team to look at because I think the Pac-12, USC is kind of loading up. Oregon looks like they're going to be coming back. If Washington wants to kind of compete with some of those big dogs, they're going to need to be able to find some sort of explosive plays on offense. That's why they brought in Coach DeBoer. Excited to see kind of who emerges as the quarterback. I'm kind of hoping it's Sam Hurd because I think he's the more talented guy. I think we saw Michael Penix. You kind of flashed in the COVID year, but he's just really bad last year.
Yeah, that's the question with Penix is you're right. When he popped, like Indiana had a very outlier, weird season. Like the team was awesome.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were healthy and didn't have problems with COVID. And just like a confluence of factors led to them being really good. But then you didn't see the same out of Penix last year.
You actually saw the team way worse. Yeah.
The team really struggled. And I don't know, like the problem with him is he really doesn't have the big arm. And DeBoer, I think to play in his system, you need to be able to get the ball to every corner of the field, and which is leading me to think Sam Heward maybe has the edge. Just because I don't think they're going to run the ball that effectively. They couldn't do it at all last year, and I don't really see why that would change. So I think they're going to have to throw it. I think
that's what he wants to do.
That's where the strength of their playmakers lies, is their wide receivers who look today like they could make some plays. And so that's going to be like this team can probably be good or at least be competitive, because I don't think the Pac-12 is like ready yet. I think Oregon and USC are still. I mean, Utah.
I disagree. I think USC is going to bring the heat this year. Unfortunately, I'm not rooting for them. But I'll be rooting for Washington because I don't like USC. I want to see somebody kind of take out USC. They kind of seem to be the juggernaut of the Pac-12.
It's going to be Utah, I think, is the real juggernaut. Utah's always pretty good.
You always
forget, and then they show up and
they're just a damn good football team.
Night game, and they're just beating the wheels off people and too physical. So
yeah, that'll do it for our 2022 spring game recap. Again, we're diving into these teams a little bit more in our summer scouting. We'll have kind of a comprehensive look at all the position groups, just giving you guys our thoughts and opinions on the 2022 spring game. As usual, we appreciate you guys rocking with the ROC Boys, checking us out. If you do like the content, you like talking college football, go subscribe to the channel. And if you're a Washington Huskies fan who has probably more intel, but you know the depth chart better than us, let us know some players to watch. We'll take a look at them this summer. Appreciate you guys rocking with us, and we'll be back with some more college football talk later. Peace, y'all.